So this is the proverbial monkey and football morning. Good morning. This is the football bat with the monkey, and you know how that saying goes. It's kind of what's going on here. And
Y'all, I'm sorry that he is so discombobulated. I don't know how he does this every morning.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
Because I haven't.
Can y'all hear us okay?
They can hear us just fine. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning from Boston.
She's good. Good morning from Buford. Good morning from
Buford. We are being wicked smart this morning.
We are wicked smart this morning. Although I am dealing with the after effects of ballpark food all night long.
Y'all.
That run this morning, Lord.
What a fantastic game. What a fun time.
I'll tell you what. I will tell you, Boston has been, I've never experienced, this is the second time I've been to Boston, but only the first time I've been to downtown Boston.
Right.
And it's super, super cool. So,
y'all, check out that, lean out. Check that out. That's not a green screen, y'all. That's actually what we're looking at out our window. It's pretty fantastic.
I had to give up a sweet to get it, but hey.
But it was worth it. It was worth it.
So let's see. Teal, good morning. Connie, good morning. Anna, good morning. Alex, good morning.
Top of the morning.
Lula, we got a good morning from Lula, a good morning from Buford.
Look at that.
So happy good morning to everybody. We are so excited. I mean, we're excited to be here. We're excited. Last night was so much fun. I know y'all saw some of the pictures, and I got to see Aaron Judge hit one over the green monster, almost hit the lights.
Y'all, he hit two.
He hit two that last night. And every time Aaron Judge comes up, that guy's a beast, by the way. And I'm not a Yankees fan, but Aaron Judge is an amazing baseball athlete. And so they got this dude leading off. Good morning, Michelle T. Good morning, Melanie. They got this guy leading off, right? So he walks up, and I'm videoing every at bat because I just want to watch how he approaches his at bat. Not that I'm ever going to coach baseball again, but I might. Who knows? But I'm videoing his at bat.
First, it's just one of those little things you like tuck in your book of things you've got.
Yeah, just one of those things you have. I mean, because he's going to win the MVP this year, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he could be a World Series MVP, which is also super cool. So, if you've never been to Fenway Park,
look at Jenny Martin hopping on here this morning.
Good morning, Jenny Martin.
Good morning.
If you've never been to Fenway Park, one of the things I'm going to, if you get a chance to go, you've got to go. It is one of those bucket list ballparks.
So cool.
You got to go to. I mean, it's just a classic ballpark.
So before you get into the Aaron Judge story, I have to tell you that let me set it up. Can I set the story up?
I wish you would.
Okay, I'm gonna set the story up for y'all.
Do you have a choice?
So this was Aaron's Father's Day present, by the way. So his Father's Day gift was tickets. When we knew we were coming to Boston, I looked, and there was a game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, which is the greatest rivalry, by the way. Hence the shirt, greatest rivalry.
Greatest rivalry.
So I got the tickets. Well, as I'm looking at, because he was like, "Oh, that'd be so cool to go to the game." So I'm looking. I think he kind of knew we were going to the game, but he didn't know exactly how we were, like, that we were going to the game, like where we were going to go to the game. So if y'all saw the pictures last night, they were pretty fantastic seats.
They were amazing seats, by the way.
So we're 4 rows off of which I'm a person that likes to sit higher up typically because I like to be able to see the whole field and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I got a different perspective last night because normally I'm not sitting that low unless I'm at like a high school baseball game.
Right.
Okay, like a high school baseball
game.
Maybe
that's what it. Yeah.
So we're sitting there in the stadium, and just the way it felt like. And I said to him, I said, "Hey, how often do you think they have to paint this stadium to keep it looking like a faded green?" Because that's what the color of the stadium looks like, is it's a faded green. And that's got to be the paint color because but it's so perfectly balanced and consistently the same color faded green.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. But I looked around and I said to him, I said, this is one of those stadiums where if there weren't however many people, how many people were in there last night? 25,000 people probably?
Oh my God, no, there's more than that.
More than that?
Oh, but it's probably like 40 or 50.
All right, trivia people, whoever you are, put it in the comments. How many people, how many seats? Yeah, what's the capacity of Fenway? Because it was slap full. Slap full last night. So I'm sitting there and I looked at him. I said, this is the kind of stadium that, like, if there weren't this many people, you would feel like you could honestly just let your kids run around. I mean, it's got that feel to it. It's got that hometown game energy
Carrie said at those kind of games, you feel the entire crowd holding their breath with every pitch. I'm telling
It was
you,
amazing.
the later it got in the game,
Yeah.
the tension.
Oh my God,
I
y'all!
said you just feel the energy just increase.
I mean,
I got chills.
to tell you what, the 8th inning, the gloves came off.
Oh, it did. It was all
The
super
gloves
happy.
Came off.
Everything was good, and like the 8th inning, everybody.
I mean,
it was
every Yankees batter that came up, because of course there were plenty of Yankees fans there, even around us where we were at, right there
37,000.
right behind the. So
You're
pretty
right.
close,
You're right in the middle.
25,000,
Yeah.
pretty close. So this guy in front of us, our seats were perfect until the dude comes and sits down. He's a little guy, but he's got this huge
His
hat
cousin
on.
his cousin from Boston was the problem.
Well, for you, because he was like 8.5 feet tall. And again, the incline of the seats is very, very, very low.
Like that much.
There.
Yep.
It's like I'm sitting here and the person is like
It's
at
an
my
old-time
nose
ballpark.
level. Yeah. So this guy, the short guy, comes in and sits down in front of me, which would have been fine had it not been for his
10-gallon hat.
obnoxious hat. That was a dual purpose hat.
Multi-purpose.
It was one
like
of those
a Swiss Army knife.
it almost looked like it might be a Swiss Army hat.
Good.
It could have been. It was like one of the ones that, like, you see those old retired ladies that are out gardening and they've got the hat on and with the garden, except he had taken blue waterproof enamel spray paint and had painted the whole thing blue and had written Boston Red Sox on the brim, the part that when he would look up, it was like a cloud went over the sun. I couldn't see anything.
But he could flip it over and carry nachos and
He
hot
could
dogs.
carry whatever he
and
wanted in it. It
sausages,
was fantastic.
Drink carrier.
So he was the obnoxious one, and every batter that came up, starting in he didn't do it until about the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Is when he started.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was telling them how bad they sucked, about them being on steroids, about everything. And I was like, is he allowed to do that? Like, as soon as the pitcher would throw the ball, he would say something and try to. And it kind of worked a couple times because I think it might not have rattled him, but they got struck out anyways.
I'm sure
Whatever it was.
I'm sure
So I'm gonna let Aaron proceed with. Oh, but the workings of the what would you call them? We're gonna call them vendors, but they're not really vendors.
This is where I want to start.
I'm gonna call them the peddlers.
Y'all, I'm not joking. You can get furs, you can get drinks, you can get snacks, you can get ladies of the night. They peddle everything.
I didn't see them peddling any ladies of the night in our section.
I'm not joking. The velocity of these vendors and the tenacity and just the every 2 seconds there were hot dogs and there were sausages, there was pizza, snow cones, Trulies, Twisted Teas, Coors Lights. My head was spinning.
Pretzels, ice cream.
My head was spinning.
Italian
Frankfurters.
Frankfurters. The popcorn things.
15 things. At least 15 things.
And most of the time they were
Like
passing
this.
each other in the aisle, down
Constant.
to in the seats where we were
Constant.
sitting at.
Constant. So
I looked
so
at him and I said, "Look, if we ever bring our kids to the stadium for a game, we're giving them each $50. At the beginning of the game, we're saying that's it. That is your budget because
spend it wisely.
Because every time someone would pass by, I could see Jagger jumping up and going, Dad, can I have that? And then he'd be like halfway through his popcorn, he'd be like, and then the Italian ice guy would come by and he'd go, Dad, I don't even like this popcorn. And he'd throw it down. Can I have an Italian ice?
Is that cotton candy? Dad, here, hold this.
They had cotton candy. I mean, they had everything.
Everything.
There was one guy that was so good. He had his thing on his head. He wasn't even touching it.
It's like he's like carrying water from a creek. It was unreal.
He was just walking up and down the steps with this thing on his head, not touching it, with no thing attached to it.
And he was short, so it was someone.
Someone had bumped
so here's
it.
the
it
story.
went on the
So here's
floor.
the story. So I'm videoing Aaron George, right? Aaron
Judge. Every time he comes up.
Every time he comes up, I'm videoing his at bats, right? The Truly guy was a little slow. Truly guy was
We saw him come through one time the entire night.
Either he was super busy and sold out every time he walked, he couldn't even get to us, or he was just super slow. She wanted a Truly.
The whole night I had said, if a Truly comes by, I'll take one of those. But
and
I
I
don't want
missed him
anything
early.
else.
So we got her a Twisted Tea. She was okay. It wasn't her favorite.
I took about 5 or 6 weeks of it.
Yeah, she was.
But it was like $11, so I felt bad for not drinking it.
Aaron Judge comes up in the 5th.
No,
Third.
It was his next
Second at bat. It was second at bat.
It was his third at bat.
He batted 4?
Because he got struck out the first time.
No,
I'm telling you, it was his third at bat. Trust me.
So his third at bat, videoing, the Truly guy comes up, okay? And obviously the Truly guy is standing because I'm here from the wall, it feels like, from Aaron Judge.
Technically, he was on deck when the Truly guy walked down.
Aaron Judge walks to the plate. The Truly transaction is trying to take place. I'm trying to look around Truly, dude. I can't video. And all of a sudden I hear the crack. And I went, and Aaron Judge hits an opposite field home run.
As soon as I heard the ball make contact with the bat, I looked at Aaron and I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
As soon as I heard the crack of the bat, I went, and I tried to get around the Truly guy to look, and there it goes, opposite field home run. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah,
but
it was.
Thank you, Aaron Judge. He redeemed himself a couple of innings
He
later
did.
and hit a bomb over the Green Monster. So that one I got on video, and it's super cool.
It was dude. He hit that ball. They're in that section because they don't want fans to get up constantly behind the plate.
That makes sense on TV. They don't want to keep getting up. They want them to stay in the seats.
Oh,
That makes
see,
sense.
Kerry throws the logic. I just thought they were really hard workers, and they figured that was the section that people paid more money for the tickets.
Yeah.
But so we're keeping in mind we're 3 rows. There's only 3 rows in front of us. There's the main row on right behind the little wall behind home plate. That there's no ways to get. There was no like break in the seats. Did you notice that? People had to climb over the seats to get into those seats. So then there's 2 rows in front of us. So we're literally on the 4th row from the wall. So 3 rows in front of us. And I'm like, when I looked online, those seats were so much more expensive than these were.
Yeah.
Like those seats were really expensive. I mean, ours were decently expensive. Let's just put it this way. If there was more than 2 people going on that trip, we wouldn't have been sitting in those seats. So,
although I would be okay sitting anywhere in that ballpark.
no, I'm talking about the seats we were in.
No.
So our seats were pretty good. They were good seats.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed
For
in the
sure.
little seats in front of us, there was little QR codes on the thing, and every time the man would come down and seat the people, he would point them to the QR code, say, "Here's your QR code." So I'm like, I wonder what the QR code's for. I thought maybe you and you get the program on your phone or something. Well, lo and behold, next thing we know, there's people bringing bags of food down to them. They can scan the thing and they order their food right there on their phone, and somebody brings them their food. They never even have to get up and leave.
Wasn't bad. That's worth its weight.
It's worth it. It is worth those. It has their own vendor, except all the food they're offering is free. Here we have it. So I basically said to Aaron last night, like, that environment was so cool, and Truist is super cool. But normally
Truist
in Truist
is super modern.
we're
though.
sitting a little high. We're not cheap seats high, but we're like
We're not Kristen Siebel.
we're 138, 238.
Second level.
We're second level. We're looking down on some people. So yeah, we're not Kristen Siebolt level seats. She's got the money seats.
She's like 10 rows.
Yeah,
back
she's
off
right behind the dugouts.
Third base dugout. Yeah.
So but I said, how cool would it? But we just don't have that feel at Truist. Like, I've never felt that feel, but maybe it's just different sections you said, because I'm telling you right now, when it went into an extra inning last night, it got tense. It got heated.
So
Yeah.
and Carrie, you're right, man. When you just some of those pictures, the first when we walked up, like when we got out of the Uber and walked across the bridge,
You just feel it.
and walked where you see the first, because Fenway's built in the middle of the city. And so all the streets around Fenway, I mean, it's literally right in the middle of the city of Boston. And that first street, that first picture we took, when you
Man.
look down, and there were just wall-to-wall people, and the banners are hanging across the street.
It was super
And
cool.
then you walk over to the next street, and there's another street that does the same thing. It's just, it's almost like a carnival. It is, Carrie, it's so historic.
It's
There's
exactly
so
like you
much
see it in the
history there.
movies.
It
really,
is. It was
like you
so-
think that they make it up in the movies for it to be like
Oh,
that, but it's
gosh,
not.
it
Man.
was
It
so
is that
awesome.
bustling. It was.
Can you
super
imagine like a championship series or a playoff series at Fenway? Oh, that'd be so freaking cool.
Cool? Yeah,
so
it'd
cool.
be cool.
So what do you want to talk about this morning?
But-
Yesterday.
I know what I want to talk about. You tell me what you want to talk about, and I'll see if it lines
No, go
up.
ahead.
So I think this is one of those things where this has been an experience for us. So I came to Boston years ago, and honestly, I don't remember much about it. I learned that New England wasn't a state the first time I was in Boston. I always thought New England was a state.
Geography is not her strong suit, by the way.
Until somebody said,
she's much better at math than she.
So how do you like New England? And I said, well, we're not in New England. We're in Boston. And he said, well, Boston is in New England. I said, wait a minute.
He said, she sure is pretty.
He said, I thought Boston was in Massachusetts. And he said, it is. I was like, and then one of the guys that I was here with, like on work, because it was when I worked for Publix, he explained to me that New England was actually a region, not a state. So I learned.
He said, come over here, Christy.
He's like, Christy, please stop talking.
Just go be pretty.
It was many years ago, y'all. I didn't know. I learned. You learn something new every day.
Every day.
So we were here for work, and that was when we were working like crazy, and we didn't go do fun stuff like this. I don't know why in the world we didn't do something fun like this.
Right.
We should have done something fun like this because there was two people down in front of us that they were clearly here on a work trip, and their employers paid for the two of them to come to the baseball game together, and that's the only reason they were at the baseball game together because they didn't speak one time. Now she was talking to someone else on her phone the entire time, and that's for another. That's for not prime time. That's not for prime time viewing conversation.
Yeah, that's probably for Madison after. That's probably an after meeting Madison
an after
lunch.
hours conversation. Yeah. So, but you came to Boston last year was the first time you came to Boston.
But we didn't stay in Boston. We stayed up in
Providence.
Towards Providence.
Yeah. So you came twice though. You came to Boston once, and then I came with you the second time.
Yep.
Me and Zeke came.
Yep.
So, but neither time did we do. Now we did some cool stuff. Like we went up in Providence and went to
Rhode Island,
Newport News, and all that. So it was super cool. But I would say this was the thing that we said coming here. We came a day early. Our first thing that we do today is actually going to be starting around lunchtime is when it kicks off. And so that's when the beginning of this thing we're here to do is kicking off. But we wanted to take some time and do that, like what we did last night. And I guess I would say every day, and that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, is are we making the most of the opportunities that we're presented with? Mm-hmm. Are we making the most of them? Is how many, like, if even when we were coming home last night, I said to you, can you imagine if we had gotten, I might even said it when we were at the game, if we had gotten here and had not taken that extra step prior to in the preparation of coming,
right,
to realize that the Yankees were here playing the Red Sox,
right,
because greatest rivalry in baseball, and had we not taken that time to make the most of an opportunity, it's the things we do in preparation for it. It's the things you do in whatever you're facing, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, and whatever you've got coming up or whatever you're going to be involved in, is being intentional about what we're doing and making the most of those opportunities. Because I think that, go ahead.
No, I think so yesterday we talked about ringing the bell, and I think that's the piece that stood out for so many people. And I got a bunch of messages, 2 or 3 messages, which is more than I usually get. So it was a bunch to me. I mean, it's a lot.
I got messages about it.
And so for whatever reason, yesterday for me really struck me. I mean, I talked because Christy didn't listen to the call, and I talked to her about it on the airplane, and I started getting tears in my eyes. I mean, for whatever reason, yesterday was a big moment for me personally, just in that run, just that physical thing, but it represents so much more, and so piggybacking on that and what Christy just said, I think is real. Let's do this. It's a scientific fact when you start getting stressed, when you start getting worried, when you start getting into a mode of fending off bears and fending off lions, and you get into a mode where you're not paying attention to your craft, and use baseball as a prime example. These guys are elite athletes. These guys are the best of the best. And there was a dude who went 0 for 4 last night with 4 strikeouts. Take that back. He had 3 strikeouts. Tristan Pham had 3 strikeouts, struck out looking, struck out twice swinging, and then got hit by a pitch. That's the only way he got on base. And I said, well, that's one way to not strike out 4 times in a row.
Right.
If you are an elite athlete and you go to the plate 4 times and you strike out 3 of the 4 times, and that sticks with you. You do that once, it's not a big deal. You do that for a week, you do that for a month, you do that for 2 or 3 months, and now you're in a slump, and now you start to question your ability. Now you start to question, do I even have what it takes to play in the major leagues? And that little bit of doubt, that little bit of crack is what makes people go ring the bell.
Right.
But so to go forward what Christy just said, it also what that does is psychologically, when you start to get in this fight or flight mode, should I stay or should I go? Right? Is it for me or is it not for me? You begin to get tunnel vision. You begin to get you stop looking for opportunities. You stop being able to perceive the things around you, taking into account all the benefit that's around you at every single turn. You stop having conversations with people. Y'all, my affirmations right now that just got reset a couple of days ago. I think I have this is the longest 12 affirmations ever in the history of the world. It takes me like 20 minutes to write them. I'm like, Steve, you should have spread these out.
12 paragraphs.
Dude, you got to spread these out. You got to give me some short ones with all these long ones. I'm writing paragraphs here. But the whole gist of these affirmations are looking for opportunities, speaking to strangers, that I'm confident whenever I go out into places. Those are the affirmations that are in this set. So I think a trip like this and being able to, she did to me in the car, in the back of the Uber. I'm on my phone, right?
Wait.
Oh, not that Uber.
Got you. Okay, sorry.
This Uber yesterday.
I'm kidding, y'all.
That was a taxi, by the way. That's another story.
I was like, wait a minute.
That's another story for another day.
This is prime time still. Remember our audience is here.
So she says, Aaron, put your phone up and look out the windows. Look out the windows. Pay attention. Look at the architecture. Take in what's around you.
Right.
Be present in this moment.
Yes, I did do that yesterday.
And I think what happens is when we start to doubt ourselves, when we start to question ourselves, when we let people in our lives who are doubters, who are naysayers, who are questioners, and they begin to poke holes in our boat. They begin to poke holes in our visions, in our dreams, and what we're trying to do. And we allow these people with this negative bias. Because I promise you, those people who yell, "Hey, Aaron Judge, you suck."
Right.
Those people have negative biases. I'm just gonna tell you.
They absolutely do.
And I'm not a Yankees fan, nor am I a Red Sox fan, but I can appreciate
a good ball
elite
game.
talent.
Yep.
I mean, I appreciate elite talent. I'm like, dude, this guy just hit a bomb. You probably ought to just chill a little bit, just relax some, right?
Yeah. After he
walked through that gate and came over here and snatched you up by your neck, because Aaron Judge is like 6'6" and
he's huge. He's
a giant, and he probably would poop down your neck after you pulled your head off your shoulders. So you probably ought to pump the brakes on that just a little bit, Paco. So what I'm saying is in this process where we are trying to encourage you guys to chase that dream. We're trying to encourage you guys to go do those big things. We're trying to ignite that spark in you so that you go out into your world and you go out and do that big thing that you're supposed to do, and you leave that legacy. You become legendary. You create that for your family. Whatever it is that you're supposed to do.
Right.
You got to be so intentional about that process. You got to be so intentional about being present in every single moment. You've got to let go of the things you're supposed to let go of. Hang on to the things you're supposed to hang on to. Be present in the moment, paying attention to what's around you, and always moving in a forward momentum.
Right. Well, and so for those of you guys for you guys that are on this call that are not part of the mentorship program, we've got the new mentorship program going on with our company, and we've got several agents. 9 or 10 agents in it right now? 8, 9 agents in it. So we had a call. We have a call on Mondays with our actual mentors.
You missed that camera, didn't you?
Talking, huh?
Go ahead.
I missed the camera?
Change the photo. Go ahead.
Anyways, so we had a call that, we have a call on Mondays. Did I mess up the camera, y'all? Sorry, I was doing some adjustments trying to get that backdrop for us to be a little bit more visible. Anyways, they can still hear us. even if they can't see us.
Probably good you don't see all of us this morning.
So, but talking about intentionality, is that a word?
Intentionality, yep.
Intentionality. So and this week our focus is on technology.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I said, and I was really hoping to be on the call yesterday, but as traveling with Christy Dwyer version episodes.
We didn't even tell you that story.
Wait, hold on, we'll tell them in a minute. So the conversation about technology in our real estate business is that we do want you to be intentional, and technology is used as a tool in that process, but not as the end all.
Mm-hmm.
But and there's certain things that if people take technology and I put a quote up on one of the cover pictures, which was a quote from somebody at Inman several years ago. And what they said was, technology will never replace the real estate agent, but the real estate agent who embraces technology will replace the agent who does not.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we say this all the time. This is a relationship business. This is about being intentional with your relationships. Every person out there is not for you. And as you develop and as you mold and as you grow into the person you're supposed to be, not just as a real estate agent, but as a professional, as a person,
mm-hmm.
you realize there are people that you think they can add a little bit of benefit to your life.
Yep.
Okay. But you have to outweigh what's the cost of that benefit? What is the cost to benefit ratio, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are just, if it's just a net balance, depending on what that relationship is, you may be okay with that. At which point the scales tip and you're not and it's bringing you down and it's dragging on you.
She has no idea what I'm about to say. Go ahead.
It's dragging on you. Then the cost benefit analysis that you've done, that you're allowed to do in every relationship in your life, you got to question that. I mean, you've got to say, is this for me?
So
and I say to people, and we hear this all the time, there are people that Medea tells you, there are people that are in your life for a season.
They're leaves.
And you got to quit trying to make a seasonal person.
You're trying to make a leaf a branch.
You got to quit trying to make a leaf a root or a branch or the trunk of the tree. So in this process of making the most of it, one of the pieces that I talk about with technology is I have a process that I started training. I started doing it when I first started expanding the Hartwell office and bringing agents in. I started teaching this very, very simple, fundamental process of prospecting expired listings and withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for prospecting for listings, and it's it is a cumbersome process, but it is a thorough process. So I give you the starting point, and then I tell you all the things to go in behind the scenes and do. And then by the time you're ready to have that first phone call, but first impressions are everything. By the time you have that first conversation, mm-hmm. you will almost be guaranteed to get that listing.
You know so much
if
about
they are ready to list and they are open to it, mm-hmm. you are almost guaranteed to get the listing, because you probably know so much more about that property than even the person who had previously listed it knew about the property. And that's where people are like, wow, right? I mean, like they take note of the thoroughness, the intentionality of your approach to them, which is what sets us apart as a real estate company. Our agents are trained to be intentional with what they do. And you can go out and you can pay to get this list of names. You can go out and pay for all this AI, where you can get
such a good point.
All this information. But then when you get this information, what do you do with it? I've paid all this money to get this information to people who might be interested in selling. Well, let me just cut to the chase. Everyone might be interested in selling. Everyone.
At some point.
I don't care if they just bought the house 3 months ago, because there's literally a house on the market in Cuscowilla that I called and spoke to the agent last week. It closed August the 12th of this year. The buyer closed on it, and it's back on the market.
Wow.
So everyone's situations can possibly change.
So I'm going to jump in here because I want to, because I don't want to get too far away from this point because you didn't have any idea what I was going to talk about, and honestly, I had no idea what I was.
But
going to
we're
talk
right
about.
here, so
I had no
knew.
idea what I was going to talk about. But so this morning, as I'm reading, and of course I'm reading this Everyday Hero Manifesto. That's what I'm trying to get through right now. And in this chapter that I'm reading, he talks about the third. So Robin Sharma apparently does a lot of stuff all over the world and works with a lot of billionaires, a lot of top high level people. He does coaching and mentoring and things like that for these people. So this chapter that I'm reading in this Everyday Hero Manifesto is the 13 habits of billionaires. So 13 things billionaires do. And y'all, I'm not joking. This morning was an absolute struggle. We got to bed about midnight, 12:30.
Yeah.
I got up at 4:45. She's like, "You get up at 4:45?" And I was like, "Nah." And she went, "Yes, you are."
I said, "Yeah, you are."
She said, "Yes, you are." So I got up and I went and ran. And I'm not sure if you've ever run on 4 hours sleep after a night of beer, pizza, peanuts, hot dogs, sausages,
Italian sausage, Cubans.
It's not fun.
Cracker Jacks.
Just let me tell you,
ice cream.
That is not the meal.
Y'all,
that is not how you prepare for a morning run. I'm just going to tell you.
You can't eat for 3 days before you come to Fenway.
Jiminy Christmas. So I really had no idea what I was going to talk about this morning because the morning was kind of a struggle for me to get up and get going. But I did it. But it was a struggle. The thing that stood out of this 13 habits of billionaires was trait number 10, a refusal to be around negative people.
Yep.
And Christy was just talking about this cost-benefit analysis. We've been talking about you. I've been really crying out and yelling from the mountaintops. Stop being average. Stop allowing mediocrity to be a part of your life. Stop allowing the distractions. Be very intentional about what you're doing. And what Christy just said about how you let people in your life and the cost-benefit analysis of these people in your life. You are going to be known by the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yep.
What you want to look at what your life's going to look like 3, 4, 5 years from now. Look at the 5 people that you hang out with the most.
That's right.
And that's what your life is going to look like. So many of us allow people in our lives to stay because of habit, because we're used to them, because whatever. And a lot of times those people aren't providing you a benefit. They are dragging you down.
Yep.
They are pulling you back. They're the naysayers, the negative. I promise you, Aaron Judge in his camp and the people that Aaron Judge surrounds, because all these professional athletes have teams of people around them.
Yep.
They have nutritionists and chiropractors and acupuncturists and trainers,
financial advisors,
and they have all these people around them, right? And I promise you, if any of those people, if Aaron Judge calls and says, "Hey, I need your help," and he says, "Man, you know what? You sucked last night. You were terrible. Why do you even play baseball anymore?" I can assure you, Aaron Judge would not keep them in his circle.
Correct.
Lynn says that I call negative people vampires. They are.
They're energy vampires.
There's a book called The Energy Bus, and we call them energy vampires. So one of the things is you start to build a bulletproof life, is you start to build this bulletproof life that allows you to stay focused and driving towards your goals, driving towards your dreams, driving towards being legendary. You got to learn to bulletproof your life.
Right.
And I was watching these guys last night. You know, there was a time when I fancied myself to possibly play professional baseball, but I didn't have the level of commitment these guys have. I didn't have at that time in my life the unyielding focus on doing that.
Right.
And I allowed these people in my life to be naysayers. I allowed distractions. I allowed all these other things to come into my life where it caused me to be more intentional about having fun than being intentional about being great.
Right.
And you can do it. You can do that. You can be intentional about having fun. You can be intentional about going through the motions. You can be intentional about being average or being mediocre or just doing the things that everybody else does.
Just checking the boxes.
You can check your boxes and go through the motions.
Yep. I said this the other day. Just because it's not wrong, just because you didn't do it wrong, doesn't mean you did it right.
Or you didn't do it to the best of your ability.
And that's what I mean by doing it right.
Yeah.
You can check the boxes and still not doing it right.
So here's what I want to say. I want you to surround one of my affirmations right now is every stranger is a friend.
That's exactly right.
Every stranger is a friend. And I
Because
want
you have no idea what they can bring into your life.
today to be intentional about meeting somebody new,
Yep.
having a new conversation with somebody you've never had a conversation with. Get outside the four walls of your house. Go out to the office. If you go to Brazelton, go to the barber shop, go to the pawn shop next door, go to the pizza joint. If you're in Hartwell, go someplace and walk down the street to the brewery.
Go
have
and
a
sit down and
conversation
have
with
lunch,
somebody.
right, and have conversation with
Go
somebody.
be intentional about creating a new conversation, creating a new relationship, because you don't know when you're going to cross paths
Right.
with that person who drops the quarter in the jukebox of your soul and you start singing that song.
Y'all, I've shared this so many times that every morning, every single morning, it's almost like I used to be so intentional about saying it. Again, that's the point of affirmations. That is the point of, because scientifically, we've talked about that book, Your Mind and the Affirmation Principle. Affirmations are creating new roads. It's like those affirmations are coming in, and they are literally creating a new pathway.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. It's like having a mind of its own this morning.
Leave it alone.
So it's like you go bing.
Bing.
My mom said I was that little girl that was so sassy that had a little. There once was a girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead, and when she was good, she was very, very good. But when she was bad, she was horrid. That was me. She used to say that about me all the time when I was little. So, but anyways, but your affirmations are creating new pathways in your mind.
Yeah.
It's new ways of thinking. It's roads. How many of y'all have been between the Mall of Georgia and the Hamilton Mill exit? And now there's a new exit. There's literally a new exit between the Mall of Georgia, which used to be 115. And there was nothing between 115 and 120 on I-85, which was Hamilton Mill and the Mall of Georgia. Now there's this new exit. Now, so affirmations are building a new pathway of thinking in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So that the piece of it that is where you are doing things the right way. And I used to, this is where I was going with this. I would get up every morning and I was so intentional about, Lord, whoever I'm supposed to cross paths with today.
Mm-hmm.
And I would literally some mornings I would verbalize it before my feet ever hit the ground. But once my eyes opened, I would lay there for a few minutes. And my prayer was, whoever is supposed to cross my path today, whoever's path I'm supposed to cross today, may I recognize it? Will you give me that discernment to recognize it? That became a way of thinking to where now I don't even honestly consciously say it anymore, because it's in my subconscious now that every day is an opportunity. This is our mission field. And I realized it years and years ago, real estate is my mission field. And I've known that. And I've been on mission trips to Honduras. So I know what it's like to go to these foreign countries and these third world countries and do the mission trips. But I also know what it feels like to be right here, knowing that we have to be intentional to not miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
We have to be intentional to not withhold a blessing from someone else that we're doing unintentionally. Sometimes us being unintentional is literally withholding a blessing from someone else. But I want to say this. Even last night at the baseball game, these guys, I mean, think about the percent. What would you say, Carrie, you're a statistical person with so much knowledge of professional baseball. What percentage of athletes, even who go to college to play baseball, that get drafted at any level of college, that go to play, what percentage actually even get signed to AAA?
Gosh, I'd say it's less than 10%.
Okay, and then what percentage actually goes to the bigs?
It's single digits, man. It's probably in that 3 to 5% range.
You think 3 to 5% of athletes who play in college actually make it to the big leagues?
I think
that's huge. I was thinking more like probably
maybe less than that.
0.5% to 1%.
Maybe 1 or 2, because I mean, there's guys that toil in the
so you
forever.
Think about, so yesterday on the plane, we're watching a documentary on Nolan Ryan, and I've always had a 0.1%. That's more along the lines of what I was thinking. Was less than 1%. That is literally 10% of 1% make it to the bigs. They literally make it to the bigs. That right there gives me chills. So this is the thing. When Aaron talked about this a while ago, is how many times are we halfway doing it? Even the 0.1% that we're sitting there last night, because you see, they look so little. If in Truist Park, all those players, you can't tell how big they are. It took us sitting 4 rows up, and we really weren't 4 rows up. We were more like 2 1/3 rows up, because even though we were 4 rows back, the incline was so small that we were literally at the same level as what 2 rows up would be at any other ballpark.
Yeah.
You see how big they are.
Yeah.
You see how huge. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I'd like to look up the stats on Aaron Judge to see how tall he is. I'm going to say he's 6'5", 6'7". He's huge.
He's probably 6'5".
He's so tall. So even those athletes that have trained and they have worked so hard, they are the 0.1% of athletes who go to college that actually get signed to the big leagues. And she said it only hits 30% of the time, and that's the all-stars. That's right. They don't commit. How many times did the catcher signal to the first base ump, the first baseline umpire, or the third baseline umpire to find out if the batter swung through enough to actually call it a strike? Because there was one, who was the guy that loaded up that we said, dude, if he followed through with that, he would have cracked that ball.
Oh, no.
We were sitting there watching. You remember the conversation though. So there was a batter. He was playing he was a Red Sox batter. I don't remember who it was, but he loaded up when that pitch came across and he stopped. Like he went back.
It was 11. It was.
He didn't commit. If he had followed through on it, he was prepared. He was watching the ball. He knew he wanted to swing at it. And it was a good pitch. It was called a strike. Okay. And he loaded up and he didn't commit, and he got called a strike. That didn't strike him out. But there were many batters who started the swing. That guy just loaded up and never went. But there were many that started the swing and just didn't follow through with it.
Mm-hmm.
And and how many times I said last night, you got to commit. You got to commit. They don't go follow all the way through with something that they were focused on doing. And so, my takeaway from that was, even the guys that are that good, the ones that we think are like untouchables, right? The ones that the little kids stand ringing down beside us and like, Aaron, Judge, look at me, just look at me. All that little kid wanted him to do was turn his face that way and glance at him.
Smile at him.
And just smile at him. And it would have made that entire kid's week, month, year, maybe.
So when you're talking about Nolan Ryan, what were you going to say about Nolan Ryan?
So I was going to say that even with Nolan Ryan, he talked about the documentary we watched, talked about his lack of believing that he had the ability to do what he did.
Yep.
And in the thing, their son, Reese Reed, the one that was hit by a car. So there's we watched this thing. Their oldest child was hit by a car when he was 7, but he survived, and he lost a kidney and a spleen and stuff, but he's fine. But he talked about every day of his life after that, he lived with an attitude of gratitude, because he knew that every single day was a blessing. But he talked about, and maybe it was their daughter that was talking about how competitive June.
The grandkids were. It was the grandkids.
But I think it was the daughter that talked about how competitive she was.
The grandkids.
So they were talking about how that Nolan Ryan, Ruth.
Yeah. Nolan
Ryan almost quit baseball. And for those of you that are not familiar with Nolan Ryan, go in and look up some stuff on Nolan Ryan. He is a guy who he literally threw newspapers out the window. And some people, legend has it that was how he got his arm. But he says no, because when you're driving a car, you throw with your left hand, and I'm a right-handed pitcher, so that's not it. But I had a little connection to Nolan Ryan, because I knew Nolan Ryan was the brother-in-law of the the parents of a girl that I was really, really good friends with in elementary school. So Nolan Ryan was her uncle. So I always knew of Nolan Ryan. So I always kind of in my mind followed him a little bit, just because of that closer connection. And to find out that he almost quit because he himself did not recognize his own ability. Whereas Ruth, who was his high school sweetheart, they met in like third or fourth grade. Mm-hmm. They started dating when she was
8th grade,
14, and she had to ask her mom if she could just go to the movies with him, and with a whole big group of people, they'd go to the movies. Anyways, ended up, they're still, it's a fantastic, but it took her saying to him, and sometimes, and I do this to Aaron, he gets so mad at me, y'all, if y'all could hear some of the conversations, whenever he gets so mad at me, but iron sharpens iron, because I will challenge him on things. And that's where you've got to understand, when you talk about the negative people that can surround you, you've got to be able to discern, are they being negative or are they challenging me? Are they being negative or are they iron sharpening iron?
And that's a good point. That's a great point.
You've got to be able to discern Because sometimes just because someone doesn't agree with you or challenges a thought pattern you've got or a process you're following, it's not because they don't care. It's because they care about you possibly more than you care about yourself at that point, right? So you've got to be able to discern that. But they talked about how competitive Ruth was. And they said, even though my dad or my grandpa, because I think it was their daughter that was saying it, that they were saying that maybe it was the granddaughter. I think the granddaughter touted on how wonderful they were. But the daughter was saying the most competitive in the entire family is Ruth. She was like a double state champion in tennis, and she's so competitive. But she said to him, Nolan, please don't quit, because he was going to quit. When he left
when he was with the Angels, he almost quit.
When he was with the Angels, he almost quit. And it was just that he was a family guy. He wanted to be closer to home. He didn't like not being close to home, not being close to family.
And he was struggling.
But here's the thing, and this is the other big takeaway from that. He was literally already playing in the big leagues, had never had a pitching coach. The entire time he was at the Angels, never.
No, that's when he was at the Mets. When he was with the Mets,
when he was at the Mets, never had a pitching coach. And when he went to the Angels, he got a pitching coach.
Yep.
Or maybe it was when he went to the Astros, he got a pitching coach.
It was with the Angels.
Anyways, he never had a pitching coach. And the problem with, he had a killer arm. Like his fastball was like 110 miles an hour. Then he's got records that nobody has still broken, even with the athletes and the training that's available and everything now. Record of no-hitters, record of strikeouts in a single season.
Baseball's changed so much from,
that's why I say the fundamentals. He didn't have all this newfangled stuff. He just got out there and threw the dadgum ball. And the problem was he had so much talent, but he had never had a coach. This is why everyone needs a coach in life. I mean, that's Coach Burt saying. Everyone needs a coach in life.
Yeah.
Because even I don't care how talented you are, if you don't have a coach that can look at you and know where your strengths are and help you recognize your weaknesses and work on those weaknesses, because that's what that pitching coach did for him, was because he had the strength, he had the power behind the pitch. He didn't have the consistency. He was hitting players, he was throwing over the catcher's head. I mean, as good as he was,
he hadn't harnessed that yet.
He had not harnessed all that potential. And a coach helped him dial in on really, and then once that coach dialed him in, it was like he was unstoppable.
God, he was so good.
So good. So that's the point of the opportunities that we have, being intentional and making the most of opportunities. It could be an Uber ride in downtown Boston where Aaron's trying to look up who this guy is because he saw his name on the side of the sign. I'm like, dude, look it up later. Take this in. Look at all this architecture. Take this in. When he was videoing Aaron Judge, he had the video camera above his head and he was looking in. You keep the video camera up there. You take this in with your own eyes, because you're not going to remember it looking through a screen, looking at it, even when you're right in front of it. Why in the world would you want to replace the ability to have captured it with your own eyes instead of looking at it through your phone? Because you're still looking at it through a screen, and it registers differently. So take the pictures, take the videos, but take it in and be intentional about absorbing every opportunity. That's the conversation you've been having about presence, being present, being in that moment. When you challenged a while ago about be intentional today, about sitting down, meeting a stranger, having a conversation. I don't care if they're a stranger. I don't care if you're going to lunch with a friend, with your mom or dad, with your kids, whatever you're doing. Be intentional and be present in that moment. Be there, because that means the world to who's across from you. And then looking back on it, that is something that you will be able to that's how the memories are made. That's how we store that. We don't store stuff as well when we watch it through a video camera. We just don't. If we embrace it intentionally and we're connecting a direct connection, as soon as you put that video camera in between you and whatever it is that you're experiencing, it changes the connection. So be intentional about something that you do today and make the most of that opportunity. Because even driving down the road, yesterday, I'm driving down to meet Logan to drop the 2 little dogs off so he can take them to the Borders for me while I'm headed to the airport. And I'm on the phone looking at something to see, because I'd gone further down from where the route was taking me. So I was looking to see where it was going to turn me off, going this far down to go up to hit the interstate. And I've driven that road. I lived down there for 12 years. I've driven that road. I can't tell you how many times, the same stretch of road. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, did I miss where I was supposed to turn? And I hadn't, but it was sometimes just taking your eye off of the focus off of what you're doing sometimes distracts you enough that you miss the point of the conversation. You miss the point of the activity. You just miss it,
Right.
because you take your focus off of it for that long. So I would say last night, the book the number 10, what was the actual wording that he used on the habit number 10?
A refusal to be around negative people.
Okay. So be intentional about discerning, because some people are just negative. They're just negative. And there's 2 ways that you can figure out, is that negativity a cry for something else? Or is that negativity just because they're bringing negativity into your life? Because sometimes a little bit of light being shined on that negativity completely turns it positive. Just a little bit of light being shined on it will turn it positive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, that would be my takeaway from just the experience in the last 18 hours.
So yeah, and I think that's really, really good. I think that's probably a good place to stop. I think the last thing I'm going to add is let me add this, and then we'll go. It's okay to be elite. It's okay to be the best of the best. It's okay to be better than other people. It's okay to go harder. It's okay to do more. It's okay to give more effort. It's okay to not be mediocre. It's okay to not be average. This thing that we're doing, this thing that you're doing, this thing that we're doing together, the mentor program, how we're building Exit Realty Lake Country, little brick, piece, little this thread, that thread, how we're weaving this together. What we're going to do this afternoon.
Oh,
right?
I'm so excited.
It's okay. You have my permission to go be better than the rest.
Right.
And so many of us have this subconscious thing. I could hear my mom saying this subconscious thing where somebody has said to us in our life at some point, you're not that much better than everybody else. Why do you think the world revolves around you? Why do you think, I mean, all this stuff, right? It's okay to be elite. We just watched 18 dudes, 2 teams of 46 guys who are the best of the best.
Right.
Some are better than others because one team's 86 and something, and the other team's 69 and something. One team's 16 games ahead and one team's 16 games behind. It's okay to be the best of the best. It's okay to bulletproof your team. It's okay to bulletproof the people around you. It's okay to create for yourself a team, a circle, a tribe of people who are like-minded, who think like you. It's okay.
And are pushing you to be better.
It's okay. Y'all, that's the beautiful thing about mastermind groups. That's the beautiful thing about the Madison meetings. That's a beautiful thing about all of you guys who go to lunch together. That's the beautiful thing about going to Coach Bird events. It's the beautiful thing about going to conventions. It's a beautiful thing about going to Exit Southeast events. It's a beautiful thing about Aaron and Christy just having time to sit in the back of an Uber and talk. It's a beautiful thing just to close in your circles, to bulletproof your circle, to bulletproof your team, because that strengthens you. Iron sharpens iron.
And I said all the time, your tribe matters.
And sometimes my vision needs her air. because sometimes my vision and that spark and that fire diminishes because the voices in my head start to push it down. The voices in my head start to put wet blankets on it. I let all the things from my past start to put wet blankets on my vision, on my fire, start to put out and douse that flame. And then she comes by and says, nope, go, and blows on that flame and blows it up bigger. You guys do that for us.
And sometimes it's that. Sometimes I said this a while ago. Sometimes if you could hear, he gets so mad at me sometimes, and it's like, and then he goes out and he does it and he gets frustrated because I say something, but then he goes out and he does it, and that's exactly what that is. If you could give a metaphor of what me saying something to him, not in an insulting way, not in a below the belt way, but in a way that says, I ask a question that forces him to answer it. And if he doesn't like the answer, then change the answer. That's what I say. If you don't like the answer to the question I'm asking, then change the answer. Change what your answer is.
Right.
That's the me fanning that flame. And then he goes out and he does it. And he goes out and he literally had a conversation with somebody last week that he told me about. And he said, the guy asked him, he said, dude, why'd you call me? He said, to be honest, I called you because my wife chewed me out. My wife got on my butt and I went and picked up this list of people to call. And that's why I called you.
He was like, that's how Milledge happened, by the way.
He was like, well, you called, so that's what matters.
Yeah.
And it's because I did just a little bit, just blew the flame. Sometimes that's all it takes when a fire starts to get low is you just got to add a little bit of kindling to it. You got to give it a little bit of air. Yeah. And then it starts to go back up.
Which again is kind of what these calls have evolved into every morning.
Exactly what it is.
Is us blowing on your spark and us trying to help build your spark up, us trying to help get your flame higher, help you see a different version of you.
And my point to me giving you the example of the batters that just didn't commit, didn't follow all the way through, was to say this. It wasn't as a criticism on them. It was they're people too. They put their pants on the exact same way that we put our pants on. The difference is they were the people who always went the extra mile. They were the ones that put in the extra work, that were intentional about their training, were intentional about what they did. Because the people that don't do that, I promise you, were not on that field last night. Mm-hmm. To be on that field last night, the amount of work, the amount of intention behind not just the athlete, behind the family and the coaches and everybody from the time.
Yeah, we have no idea how much.
We have no idea what took place to get them on that field last night. And my reminder, and the reason I use that example of they just didn't go all the way through, is even they fall short sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Baseball is a game of failure.
Even they don't follow through on an opportunity that's right in front of them.
Yep.
And you know what they do? They come in because the first one, Aaron Judge got struck out his first at bat. He was struck out. And then his second one, he did something. His fourth at bat, guess what they did? They walked him. They literally walked him. They didn't even walk him. The pitcher called him off and they just sent him to first base.
They walked him. 2
batters later, when Aaron Judge was on second base, a batter came up, hit a triple. Aaron, the guy in front of Aaron Judge got home. Aaron Judge got home, and that's why the Yankees won the game last night. Mm-hmm. And what's so funny is Aaron Dwyer told me a story. As soon as he watched Aaron Judge get walked, an intentional walk to first, he he said, "You know, it's funny." He told me a story about whenever he was 32, and there was a police officer team, a softball team.
But it says baseball. So there's an over 40 baseball league in Middle Tennessee. It was the Middle Tennessee Adult Baseball League. And there were a couple of police officers who started a team and wanted me to play. But it was over 40, and I wasn't quite over 40 yet.
He was like 32.
So Burl Johnson.
And smoking hot in his police uniform, by the way.
And my baseball uniform, too. It was pretty sweet.
I'm sure you were. Sorry. I
digress. So I got Burl's ID, and I was Burl Johnson for that season. And played shortstop, had a blast, was so much fun. And we were playing against this team from Murfreesboro that we obviously had a big rivalry with. And so they walked the dude in front of me to load the bases. And there were 2 outs. They walked the guy in front of me to load the bases to get a force out to get out of the inning. and I ended up hitting a grand slam to center field off a pole.
So he tells me that story
And
as they walk Aaron Judge.
And of course, my 32-year-old self, when I hit it, I looked at the catcher and I went, "That was a very good idea." And, and he wanted to fight me when I got to come play.
So it was funny that you gave that story because literally two batters.
Who said that?
Probably, if I had to guess, it's probably Doug. Who is that Facebook user? Absolutely better day. The only way you fail is to quit completely. It was funny that he said that because two batters later, that's pretty much what happened. Was their decision to cut corners. Okay, their decision to.
We gotta go.
Their decision to cut corners and not just take it in stride and do it the right way. Because to me, it might have been a strategic decision. It was still cutting a corner. When you're in the big leagues, you take the big league hitters.
I would have walked Aaron Judge. My boy was 2 for 3 with 2 bombs, and you get a tie game in the 8th. Aaron Judge is up. You're getting walked, sir. I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
You're getting
all right.
walked.
That's my son FaceTime me, and he's got my littles with him. So I'm gonna go.
Love y'all.
I'm gonna go face him. Be good.
Be great.
Be you.
Bye.
Bye.